Cannabis has been used for over 5,000 years, like in record. It showed up in pharmacopoeia about 5,000 years ago and even past in ancient texts. But we as humans have more or less evolved and grown with cannabis, like side by side. We have a system that can be regulated by cannabinoids and other things as well. But the endocannabinoid system is responsible for many normal human bodily functions.
What inspired you to get into CBD and health in the first place?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's funny that we're talking about college in the beginning of this because it all started there. Most of my college career, I lived this like two separate lives type of approach. I was pursuing an aerospace engineering degree. I actually went into aerospace for a little while after college. So it took a lot out of me. Like I had to work really hard, had to study hard, grew up playing sports, grew up very focused on taking care of myself, pushing my body to limit, and got to college and had that as a core piece of me. And then was also pursuing a very hard degree. It was difficult. Engineering was difficult. But on the flip side,
CU, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Listeners, context, we both just figured out that we went to the same college. We weren't there at the same time, but okay. So you were studying that at CU. I love that.
CU Boulder. Yeah. And I always say my first senior year, because I took 5 years to graduate. In my first senior year, everything really came to a head. I was like pursuing something and pushing myself as hard as I possibly could, but I was also on the flip side, living a very destructive life. I was partying 5 out of 7 days a week. And in the beginning, this was like, ooh, this is fun. There's no rules. But then over the course of time, it just created this gap between who I really wanted to be and like who I actually was. And in April 2012, it was 2:30 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. I came out of a blackout on a bridge. I had climbed over a guardrail and I was inches away from ending my life. I almost jumped off. Somebody down below the bridge stopped me. And what that guy was doing there at 2:30 a.m., I mean, it was a college town, but he was there and literally told me to stop and pulled me back over the guardrail. And the core of the story is I was so far off from who it is I wanted to be that this gap between the two people was causing an immense amount of anxiety because I wasn't showing up being the person that I truly said I was. I was living a very destructive life. I had this pretty big friend group, but I made decisions based off of the people I was surrounding myself with, and every party drug underneath the sun you could find in my system. And when I was brought to the hospital the next day and put on 24-hour watch, the doctor asked me, we're going to run some tests. Is there anything that we can find in your system? And I was just like, you know what? You're going to find everything. And my parents were standing over me at the hospital. And I just saw the life just completely suck out of them because not only did they see that their son almost lost their son, but they saw that their son had lost himself. And I really lost myself. And I had become deeply depressed, but hadn't actually recognized how bad it was until I recognized that, wow, I'm literally inches away from ending my life. And the weeks after that, I was instantly put on antidepressants and my parents pulled me out of Boulder, Colorado. I moved back to Littleton, Colorado. And the year and a half after that, I basically spent very alone and like on the edge of making sure that I could still get this degree, get the job, not make a decision that was going to ruin everything that I worked so hard for. And thankfully ended up getting a job. I worked for Lockheed Martin for about 7 years on NASA programs, and it was an amazing career. And at the same time, I still felt like there was something missing. So from a very dark place to then being in a place where I was actually doing what I thought I was supposed to do and working very hard to get there, I still felt a hole. And at the core, what I was recognizing was I wasn't really showing up in a way that I thought was impactful and meant I was living my purpose. And what I recognized was I was on this journey from being extremely depressed and completely losing myself. And in that journey, what I was really doing was trying to figure out, like, what does it mean to truly be healthy? What does it truly mean to pursue a life of impact? And I had started this podcast several years into my professional career, and this was on the side, but the podcast ended up getting rebranded to what was called Higher Health. And I was having conversations with individuals in the health and fitness industry, and we would talk about what brought you to this world. And a lot of the times there was like some trauma or some like difficult story that led people into this life of pursuing what it truly meant to be healthy, happy, and fulfilled. And they were wonderful conversations. But the thing that was so present was we would have a podcast conversation. We would get off of the podcast and individuals would see me using cannabis on social media, using CBD, using, to be completely transparent, psilocybin at times. And they would ask me questions outside of the podcast and say, hey, I see you doing this specifically around cannabis. And they said, hey, I use cannabis too. I just don't talk about it openly. And it kept happening over and over and over again. And I said, okay, I asked the question, I was like, so why? Like, why don't people want to talk about this publicly? And it was just because there's such a stigma around cannabis and there's such a stigma around so many things. And at the core, it's because we, as individuals that grew up in the DARE program, as people that were children of parents that grew up with reefer madness and propaganda that's lasted for so long, are products of narrative. We're all products of narrative. And it was so apparent to me that as I met more and more people that truly wanted to say, hey, like, I do X, whatever it is, it helps me live and live a better life, become a better person, take care of myself. And I'm nervous to talk about it. And so 7 years into my engineering career, lots of things happened, but finally a boss just belittled me so much that I was like, this is it. I'm done. I need to go do something else. And I had this idea that I could start to more or less rebrand cannabis, change the story around it, and allow people to truly understand the power of it. And that is what led into what is now Cured Nutrition, and the company that sells CBD products, cannabis products, functional mushroom products. We're basically I say that we're a supplement company of the future. There's the past and there's the future. And the future has pieces of history in it. Like cannabis has been used for thousands and thousands of years. Traditional Chinese medicine is extremely powerful and has been used for a very long time. And I think that I like joke about this, but it's not like we're going to return to nature and all go live in the woods like we sometimes want to. But I think we're going to return as a society to understanding the true powers of nature. And that's our mission. So it was like I went engineering to cannabis, and that's a hard left-hand turn at one point. But the core of it was I wanted to share something that had been helpful for me and recognize that so many other people had benefited from it, but they just wouldn't talk about it openly. And so now it's 5 years in the making. Cured Nutrition was started 5 years ago. And here we are trying to change a narrative, and it's working, but conversations like this help.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's funny. There really has been this renaissance with the last 5 years or so, because I've noticed that too in my social circles. Again, product of the DARE program. Growing up, it was so stigmatized to talk about any of this. The only thing that felt like it was okay to talk about was drinking, which is, it's so funny, right? Because you look back on that, I'm like, I had my most destructive nights when I would go out and get hammered with my friends in college. And thankfully, nothing ever too crazy happened. But it's funny because we could just openly be like, oh man, I got trashed with my friends over the weekend. But then if someone was like, oh, I got really high over the weekend, I smoked some cannabis, or on a psilocybin journey, I remember looking back on college, we both went to CU, and CU had a lot of drugs floating around. And the only thing I ever did was drink. I was terrified. I had a horrible experience smoking weed when I was in high school, and I literally didn't touch it for 10 years. It was the worst, most traumatic experience I've ever had. Not ever. Oh my God, that is way too dramatic, but it was bad. And so I didn't do it for 10 years. And then I was so scared after coming through the whole DARE program that my school had done, that I didn't want to touch psilocybin either. And I had friends in college that were making psilocybin tea and going on these really wonderful journeys and experiences. And I was terrified. I didn't touch any of it, but then was a really avid drinker. And looking back, I'm like, that was way more terrible for my health. Now everything that we know about psilocybin and cannabis and how wonderfully healing they can be for people. I've talked about this a lot on the podcast. I've had some really healing experiences with psilocybin. And I love that Michael Pollan wrote a book about it. He has that new Netflix special, which is really amazing. Yeah. And so it's just cool that everyone's slowly starting to come out and talk about this, because we really are, we're changing the stigma so much that literally my dad, I hope my dad doesn't get upset with me talking about this, but over Christmas last year, my dad called me and he's, hey, do you know how to get your hands on some mushrooms? And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I've been hearing things. I'm reading some articles about Michael Pollan. I'm intrigued. And he's the last time I tried it, it was like the 70s. And I went on a journey in the woods. And I feel like I need to retry that. I was like, I love this.
So what happened in the 60s and 70s was we didn't do it right. And so not that we didn't do it, I guess it just, there was such a narrative around like counterculture and who these people, I'm doing air quotes for those of you that are just listening on audio, is that there was this idea that this is counterculture, that nobody can be a professional, well-respected individual and still accomplish a lot in life and use cannabis or psilocybin, you name it. And the truth is that's so wrong. But until you can actually experience it in a state where it's used very intentionally and correctly, you can't change the narrative for yourself. And like your experience when you were younger with THC is it's all dose dependent. And then the idea of set and setting is so important. Really and then important. Even more than that, like when I say that I was this person, when I made these decisions in college, cannabis and psilocybin were part of it, but then name all the other party drugs were also part of it. And alcohol and blacking out was the thing that led me to the edge of the bridge. And it wasn't, not saying all of those things are okay. All those substances are okay. What I'm saying is I was the problem. Like I was the problem. It wasn't those substances. Yeah. So as I spent several years sober and was pursuing, I was in the bodybuilding world, I was in the physique competing world, and I was like pushing my body to its limit. And after I spent some time doing that, which also has some unhealthy components to it as well, I recognized I was like, okay, Joe was the problem. The user was the problem. And I started to explore, as cannabis became recreationally legal here in Colorado, I started to explore all the other cannabinoids, CBD, and I started to notice that, oh, this helps me sleep, this helps me relax, this helps me recover. So if that's true, it wasn't that like the plant's the issue, it's the user could be potentially not using it correctly, or it's also dose dependent. So there's so much to talk about, there's so much to understand, and that is what like our mission is. If we're not putting out the correct information and trying to change the narrative, then it's going to be a short-lived renaissance that we're in. But we want this to stay. We want to actually show people that there's another option. I'll sit here and I'll say, I'm thankful for modern medicine. My daughter was born early. She was in the NICU for almost 10 days, and I'm so thankful for it. I'm so thankful for the times when I did need to use certain medications. And I think there's another option. I'm not saying that they're one way or the other, but I'm also saying that there's a lot for us to question, just like the work you do when we talk about what goes on in our industry, the supplement industry. Like you talk about the food industry, you want to talk about quality control and testing and everything in our industry. All of that's important. All of that needs to be part of the conversation. And at the end of the day, if we can put the right messages out there, have the right conversations, and educate the consumer correctly, then everybody can make proper decisions, conscious decisions to explore things that can truly help people. And I'll also sit here and say, it's still not for everybody. Like nuance, like our world needs nuance, and like sometimes it's just doesn't exist.
Dude, yes. Thank you. That's the thing. Like everything is so nuanced. And with social media, we've gotten this horrible habit of thinking that life is like just two boxes. It's either this or it's that. What people don't understand, or hopefully a lot of people understand this, but it gets lost in social media, is that if you make one statement, then everyone just assumes that what you didn't say is also what you agree with. You know what I'm saying? You can't, there needs to be more room and space for nuance, and people need to understand that just because, like, for example, you and I are having this conversation and we're saying CBD has really helped me and psilocybin has really helped me. Are we saying that literally every single person on the planet needs to also try it? It's going to help them? No, you have to figure that out for yourself. And so Yeah, it's very frustrating. The nuance thing is I really struggle with that with social media and making statements online. And it's all about education. At the end of the day, I feel like both of us have a similar mission that we just want to educate people on how they can be the best versions of themselves. And for you provide this amazing product that provides relief in many ways for people, whether it's helping with sleep or helping with anxiety. And you want to just educate people on how to do it, how to dose it, the best, like how to look for the best quality, which I want to get into that with Cured.
Yeah.
It's all about the education component of it. First and foremost, for people that are really super new to CBD, what exactly is it and what are the ways that it can impact people's overall health?
Yeah. So CBD is one cannabinoid out of over 100 cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. And a really important distinction is like cannabis is the top. If you were looking at like a family tree or more or less, think of cannabis at the top and then think of hemp and marijuana below. Hemp and marijuana are both cannabis. Hemp is different from marijuana in that hemp is classified as cannabis with less than 0.3% THC. And then marijuana has greater than 0.3% THC by dry weight. And then marijuana is regulated on a state by state level. And then hemp is legal federally. That's why we ship our products nationwide. So we extract our cannabinoids from the hemp plant. And CBD is one cannabinoid that can be expressed at a high concentration based on breeding and genetics from a plant. But CBD or cannabidiol is one out of over 100 cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. THC is tetrahydrocannabinol, which is typically associated with the intoxication of marijuana. There was this time where people were saying CBD is not psychoactive. CBD is psychoactive because it has calming properties. It can do things in the brain. It does have an effect, but it's not intoxicating. So we're talking about two cannabinoids here, THC and CBD, and then there's a bunch of others that have so much potential and have different effects. But CBD is typically used for its calming properties, and it has anti-inflammatory like properties. So if you think about for recovery or anybody that's trying to work on as they're aging, they have aches or just like pain management, CBD is great for that. And THC actually in very low concentrations is very good for that as well. But we'll have a poor experience with THC. They'll get too high and they'll never use it again. But CBD, hopefully that makes sense with CBD. It's one cannabinoid out of over 100 in the cannabis plant. It has great anti-inflammatory like properties. And all the cannabinoids in the cannabis plant interact with our body because we have what's called an endocannabinoid system. It's always been there. It didn't just appear recently. It's always been there. There's this belief, and really it's true to its core, is cannabis has been used for over 5,000 years. Like in record, it showed up in pharmacopoeia about 5,000 years ago and even past in ancient texts. But we as humans have more or less evolved and grown with cannabis, like side by side. We have a system that can be regulated by cannabinoids and other things as well. But the endocannabinoid system is responsible for many normal human bodily functions, sleep, wake cycle, mood, appetite. It really helps the body achieve homeostasis and really attack or balance the stress response. So that's what CBD is, how it can affect the body, what's going on in our body. And to sit here and say there's over 100 cannabinoids in the plant and we're just talking about one of them, the question for me is, what else are we going to be able to do with this plant?
The thing that I have learned and come to realize the most in my journey of all the years of learning about health and nutrition and everything is that the more I learn, the more I find out that we know so little.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like we think that we know so much and then we unlock this new thing, like the stuff with CBD, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's like a whole new world. We have so many other components of the cannabis plant that we have yet to discover. So it's pretty exciting. Okay. So now we know that we have this cannabinoid system, and when we take CBD, so this is what I actually don't fully understand. So when you take CBD, it hits like certain points of your cannabinoid system. Is that why it works in sync with our body?
Yeah. So what I didn't say about the endocannabinoid system is there's CB1 and CB2 receptors, and they're all over the body. And cannabinoids, depending on which one it is, can either bind with the receptors or modulate the receptors. So if you're modulating receptors, you could have a stronger uptake of something else. You could say it's almost like what's believed is that it's almost has like a similar effect to GABA. So when we talk about the calming properties or anti-anxiety like properties, CBD actually modulates the system in a way that helps calm you. But these receptors are all over the body. There's a bunch in the brain. They're literally part of who we are. And what's even cooler is that like things like black pepper modulate this system. So what we're saying is we have these receptors in our body, exogenous, so outside the body, cannabinoids can regulate the system, but also we have the ability to produce cannabinoids ourselves. So it's like we're literally like set up to utilize something that is a plant that's been stigmatized and created such a poor narrative around. And where does that lead, and why haven't we been able to make progress? We haven't been able to make progress because we live in a world where most of the regulatory bodies are incapable of maybe just being more open-minded. I'll just put it that way. I think that's a way to, I'm not going to say that like we shouldn't have regulation. We should absolutely have regulation, especially when it comes to food and supplements and everything. And that's so important. But I think we need to be more open-minded, because at the end of the day, don't we all want this existence to be the best it possibly can be? And if we don't open our minds to other options, then you don't, just like you said, we don't get to recognize how much we don't know. And when we recognize that there's so much that we don't know, that's actually a really beautiful place to be. I had a mentor say one time, he was like, when I was 18, I knew everything and it was really easy. And I was like, yeah, I was 18. I knew everything too. And life was really easy, but it wasn't like, your world's so small. When you think you know everything, your world becomes so small and you don't have the ability to change and grow and develop. And so, yeah, I think open-mindedness at a regulatory level is important. And then it takes the people on the ground level that experience whatever it may be to be participants in saying, this is how we believe that we can create a better world. We can create a better future. And I don't know, I could ramble on that for a while, but I think that that's the path. Is we need to be clear on that.
Yeah. And this is important for people to understand, because when we're closed off and we're closed-minded to a lot of these things, we could actually be hindering ourselves from things that may really help us. A lot of us are struggling in this modern world with anxiety, depression, especially after the last 3 years, the craziness. We all went through this collective trauma, and everyone is suffering in varying degrees, whether or not they want to admit it. And so why don't we utilize these things that we do have access to that have been proven to help people? And like we said earlier, they may not help everyone, but we need to be open and open to knowing more about this, learning more about it, and also open to exploring it, because it has provided relief for a lot of people. And in a lot of different areas, like outside of just depression and anxiety. I know you might have to correct me on this, but I believe it's the THC that actually helps with this, with children that experience seizures. When they give them a certain dosage of THC and maybe CBD as well.
It is CBD, yeah.
It is CBD.
There's actually a drug by, of course, the pharmaceutical companies are coming into it because it has that potential. But there's a drug called Epidiolex that is for seizures, and it's very high dose CBD. And actually, I don't know if I shared this with you, but we had a dog that passed away several months ago. He had a brain tumor and he struggled with seizures his entire life. He passed away. He was only 3 years old, but we gave him CBD all the time. And my wife and I, we were like, of course we were meant to build this company. Like, of course we were meant to experience this with our boy Dusty, because he did suffer from something that was so traumatic to watch and experience, but it did give him relief. And you're right, it does. There is an actual drug that has, there is another drug called Sativex, which has THC. Yeah. I don't know if that's used specifically for seizures, but CBD Epidiolex actually is.
And you know what's really interesting? I think a lot of people don't know this. Most pharmaceutical drugs are either a component of a plant that already exists in nature, or an exact replica of a plant that exists in nature. That's where we get our pharmaceutical drugs, is from plants. And I think until the general public really grasps that, I think we're going to be scared of like psilocybin and CBD and THC and all this, but like pretty much everything that we provide for people from pharmaceuticals come from plants.
Yeah. And I actually was on a podcast yesterday with the doctor, and what we discussed was through, and this, we can get into quality control discussion with this, because when you take the cannabis plant or the hemp plant to get to the products that you see, the oils, the droppers, the topicals, you go through an extraction process. So you cultivate the plant, you cure it. So you hang it upside down and it cures. That's where the name cured nutrition comes from, because we
Oh, I
have
love that.
plants. Curing is like a literal process in taking herbs, plants, whatever it may be, and turning them into a dry powder. But you go through the curing process, and then it goes through the extraction process where you take out the cannabinoids and you take out the terpenes, which are like more or less the aromatic parts, which also have a benefit to them. But you just go through a refining process, and you can get down to what's called CBD or THC isolate. And that's literally just the molecule in its single form. It's just that. We, as a company, we do offer products that go that far down the road, but we basically try to stay more in the least refined process. It's more whole plant type approach. But yeah, the more you refine something, the closer and closer you get to a pharmaceutical. It's just true. So yeah, I don't think enough people know that. And I'm glad that you brought that up. And yeah, we could talk about that process and quality control, because it's so in alignment with everything that you talk about with our food system.
Yeah, let's talk about it. This is one of the reasons that I fell in love with your company, is because we had a call a couple months ago and you showed me on your website that you guys do testing and you provide all of those lab tests on your website. So anyone listening can go, I'll put it in the show notes. You can go and look it up yourself. But you guys are very transparent, and your commitment to the quality of your supplements is really what draws me to Cured. And I just love that about you guys.
Yeah. And if we don't do that, I don't think we're helping people to our full extent. So it's been part of the mission since day one, is we want to set a really strong example. My business partner and I actually met at CU. We both we're both in engineering. We both went down different paths. But when we came back and we started this company together, one of the things that we talked about was, we're going to do this right. We're going to do this right. We're going to go through all the testing that's required, and we're going to be fully transparent on it, because if we're not, then we're doing a disservice to the industry. So what we do is, in the marijuana world in California and in Colorado and other states that has legalized marijuana, they require that to get in a dispensary, the extracts go through heavy metal testing, they go through pesticide testing, they go through microbial testing, and then they also go through homogeneity testing. So if you say there's 1,000 milligrams, there's 1,000 milligrams. That doesn't exist in the supplement world. That doesn't exist in the hemp world. That doesn't exist in a lot of worlds. And that, like, when the blinds, when the curtains were pulled back for me to be like, oh, wow, there's a lot that could be changed in a lot of industries. We should do this right. And so every single batch of products that gets manufactured, we do those tests. We're not required to, but we do that because we believe that we're not going to make a mistake. We're not going to put something out into the world that's supposed to help people, but could have the potential to not, because hemp can actually be used to remediate land. So you can suck up toxins from the land and it could end up in the extract. So we say we test for heavy metals, absence of heavy metals, absence of pesticides, absence of microbials, and then also homogeneity testing to say, here's all the cannabinoids that are in this product. And here's us confirming that we say that what we say is in this product is actually in this product. And then we just put it out publicly. We're like, if we're going to do all this testing, why not display it publicly? Because then we can educate the consumer and also say, if you're not going to shop with us, just use us as an education platform to go look at the test results and then say, hey, like, you go find another company and say, hey, can you provide these for us? And I think that's us just doing right for the plant, but also just doing right for people. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have what you say is in the product and it doesn't work for somebody, not only is that a disservice to the consumer, it's a disservice to the entire industry, because you're creating a bad name for the industry when we know that we can actually help people. So yeah, in the footer of our website, there's a quality control section, and you can go look at every single batch. And if you get a product on the bottom, there's a batch, and you just match the batch with the testing results, and you can look at all of those things. And we're happy to answer questions on those. But I think it's our duty to do that correctly. And that stuff, does that exist in our food supply chain? Does that exist in the supplement supply chain? Not at all. Not at all. So it's a problem. It's a serious problem.
Yeah, it's a big problem. And I love that you guys are setting that standard. And I know specifically for CBD products, I'm trying to remember, it might have been a 60-minute segment. So my dad is one of those people that's a little weary of anything that's not big pharma, and one of them being CBD. And my mom and I are fully on the supplement train. We're on CBD and all this stuff. And my dad's, I don't believe it. I don't know. And he was watching some news segment that was talking about how the majority of CBD products don't really have the amount of CBD that they claim. And you and I talked about this too, but I just thought it was so funny that there happened to be an actual segment on this. And it's because there's no regulation. And like you said, this happens in food. This is happening in so many different industries right now, which is why more than ever, we need to, as the consumer, be vigilant about the products that we are consuming. Like, we unfortunately have to be little investigators. But yeah, and like you were saying with CBD, I've had a lot of people tell me like, oh, it didn't really work for me, or I don't really get the hype or whatever. And I think what's happening is that people are getting these CBD products that have little to no CBD in it. Or what also is happening, and I know you can speak more to this, but they were saying this in that news segment, is that the amount of CBD that one needs in order to help with, let's say, for example, seizures, or if you're dealing with like really crazy anxiety or whatever it is, like you need pretty high doses. And a lot of these companies are like I call them like gas station CBD oils, where like you walk in and on the counter, it's like next to the like boner pills where it's just like CBD. And you're like, I don't believe that has any CBD in it.
No, like that's the same place that you buy a Snickers bar. Like maybe we should just ask ourselves a question. Like maybe you shouldn't get the thing that's supposed to be healthy for you at the gas station. And I'm glad that you said that. It's a serious problem. Before COVID, there was notably 1,500 brands in the space, and most went out of business in the last 2 years, which is awesome. Because they shouldn't have been in business in the first place. Because what happened was there was this huge rise of, you literally for 2019, you saw it everywhere. It was like CBD infused this and CBD that, CBD. And most of it was because this 3-letter acronym was really trendy. And so of course, somebody's going to try to profit from it. And that's exactly what happened. And at the end of the day, companies, like, we have to ask ourselves, why don't those regulations exist? Is because that is going to pinch companies' margins so much that it's hard to be extremely profitable. Like, when we live in a capitalistic society, don't get me wrong, like, I love the ability to be able to make money and produce a life for my family and myself. And I'm not saying capitalism is bad, but when it comes down to what's our bottom line, when you're always trying to improve your bottom line, you're going to cut corners. And if you don't have to test, we spend thousands and thousands of dollars on testing every single month. And that increases our cost of goods sold, which lowers our margin. And so at the end of the day, like, that's why it's happening. Maybe not always why. That's the world that we live in. And I wouldn't buy CBD from a gas station ever.
Yeah, guys, please don't look into the companies that you're buying for, but also, like, why mess around with anything else when we have cured? Because we know that it's
exactly.
the best.
Yeah. I like, at the end of the day, like, I will always say, go wherever you want to go, but just ask the right questions. And that's why we do what we do. Is I want to help people at my core. And I wanted to step back because, like, you help people, I help people because we've experienced what it feels like to actually truly feel really good. We also know what it feels like to not feel good. And when you start to feel and experience what this life can actually be, why wouldn't you want to share that with everybody? Like, why would you want to hold that for yourself? Like, you want everybody to feel good and be happy and have longevity and make the right decisions. Like, why wouldn't we want that? Why would you hold that for yourself? So of course we do what we do.
Yes, exactly. At the end of the day, I can only speak for myself, but I just want to see people happy and thriving. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's why I share all of this. That's why I have this podcast, and why I'm so passionate about it is because, yeah, like, there was a time when I was not feeling my best and I was desperate for the answers and didn't know where to turn, what to do. And it required a lot of looking into things. Like, it's what I talk about all the time on this podcast. And what we were just saying, unfortunately, you have to be really vigilant about the things that you put on your body, the things that you put in your house and spray everywhere. Like, we just unfortunately live in a time that we have to be vigilant about the things that we put in our body, on and around. Yeah. Because we are yeah, we live in a capitalistic society where anyone can make anything and not everything is regulated. And there's a lot of stuff that's really harming our health, unfortunately, but we have to be tuned into that. And it feels really good to know how to take care of yourself. And when you hit that place of health where you're just like, you have the energy and you feel great, man, nothing can replace it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's our responsibility to understand that that life is all on us. Nobody's going to do it
Yeah.
for us, but we have to be open and find the resources and do the exploring, because have I done everything right? Hell no. Like, I've done a lot of things wrong. I've gotten a lot of things, like even just in building this business, I'm a way different person than I was 5 years ago. I'm a better leader. I'm a better person. I'm a better teammate, like all of those things. And it only comes from just exploration and like taking ourselves out of our comfort zone, because that's when we do things wrong. I had this analogy of like, when you want to become a different version of yourself, it's like you learn this new habit or you learn this new routine. You're like, I want to select the foods that I eat differently. Are you going to get it 100% right the first time? No, you're going to make mistakes. And there's this idea, like, my wife and I had, our daughter was born a year and a half ago. And when she was starting to walk, I had this idea of like, when you start to become a new version of yourself and start to make different decisions, it's literally like a baby walking for the very first time. The baby is walking in that version of themselves for the very first time, and they trip and they fall and it's clunky. And everybody needs to give that grace to themselves, because when you get all this information, if you're shaming yourself for not doing it right off the bat, remember you are that baby that's walking in this new version of themselves for the very first time, and you're not going to get it right the very first time. You're going to trip, you're going to fall, but you got to just keep going. You got to be okay with being uncomfortable. So I just wanted to share that, because I think we can sit here and be like, oh, check me out. But no, like, I've gotten so many things wrong, and it took all of those things. It took that exploration and recognition of, to become a different person, you're literally like a baby walking for the very first time in that new version of yourself.
I'm still getting things wrong.
Oh yeah.
I think days. That's right. I think that's what it's funny, because I've been getting a lot of comments lately on so I do these grocery store reels on my Instagram, and I will call out foods, drinks, whatever it is, for having certain ingredients that are not great for us. And then I'll have people coming for me for things that I'm seemingly not doing perfect. So like when I had nails recently, like I had painted nails, and I got all these comments that are like, what toxins are in those nails? As if I'm some like perfect human.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just funny that there's this level of like people thinking that just because we're like educating so I'm just trying to educate on how you can do better, but I'm not saying that I have it all figured out, that I'm perfect. Just because I'm sharing this one tidbit of information doesn't mean that I have my whole entire life perfectly fit out and I have not a single toxin that goes in my body or in my apartment. No, that's not realistic. We're all human. We're all learning. We're all trying our best.
Yeah.
And it's just I think it's a reflection of those comments are just a reflection of that person trying to hold themselves up to this perfect standard that's also not realistic. And then they're trying to hold me up to this standard. And it's just, we all need to be kind.
It's not going to work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It's not about being perfect. It's just about being better. It's about being better every single day. And that's why I say, what have I done wrong this week? Did I got in an argument with my wife? Like I did, I ate a donut the other day. You know what? That happens. It's not about being perfect, but it's about being conscious of our ability to make better decisions. And as we make better decisions, we feel better. And like I said earlier, of course, we want that for other people. We're not saying you're doing it wrong. We're just saying like we said earlier, there's another option. There's another option. And I think that's what's most important to us is the pharmaceutical world going to go away? Is all of this stuff going to change in our food supply chain? No, but there can be both options, and we're not going to do it perfect. And there's all this talk about food supply shortages and like issues, and that happens. But if at the end of the day I had to eat canned food for a little while, like I would do it. But
yeah,
like
exactly.
So it's nuance. We're back to nuance.
And what you were saying, this is again why it's so important for us to put our money in companies that are doing the right way, because that is one way that we can all make an impact and a difference. Because I think a lot of people feel like I'm just one person and this food industry feels like a huge Goliath. Like, how are we ever going to change this? And things are shifting. Just think about how you just mentioned that before COVID, there was X amount of CBD companies and a lot of them dropped off. That's because people were not putting money into those companies. People are putting money into companies like yours that are actually providing a good, high quality product. And we need to think about that the same way with our food. And look, I know budgets are a huge issue, especially more than ever with inflation and stuff. But we are making a difference by putting our money into companies and products that are actually providing healthy, good products for us and for our families. And we need to remember that we do make a difference in that way.
Yeah. My good friend has this quote, create like this ethos of living. And one of the rules in his ethos is the rule is there are no rules, but karma and responsibility are real. So if you hold both of those, the rule is there are no rules, but karma and responsibility are real. So when we say companies are going out of business, karma is real. If you do things for the wrong reason, I don't believe that you should be successful. I don't believe that. If you're not taking responsibility for your mistakes, I don't believe you should deserve to have a different life. Really, there aren't any rules. It's just our choice on how we show up on a day-to-day basis. And I appreciate that we've aligned and partnered and because not even aligned, like we were already aligned, but I appreciate what you're doing in the world because one at a time, these conversations can actually reach one person, another person. And there's going to be people that listen to this and they're like, but that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. I love you still. If that's you, I love you still.
Exactly. Yeah. And look, we have to meet people where they are. And I think about like where I was 5 to 10 years ago on my health journey versus where I am today. There was a lot of growth and evolution in between that. And there were certain messages that at a certain point in my health journey just weren't getting to me yet. And that's okay. It's on a different point in their health journey. And people are witnessing you and I a lot further along than if someone is just getting their legs, like just learning to walk in the health world. And we also, again, it comes back to the compassion, not to compare yourself. If someone's trying to compare my health journey to theirs and they are literally just starting out, you can't. I've been doing this for 20 years. So like you can't expect to be in the same place as someone that's been doing it for a lot longer, but that's okay. This is not a comparison. Life is different. We got to stop comparing ourselves. It's so much worse with social media and just stay on the task at hand and like, stay true to you, focus on yourself and not on other people. And that's going to better you. And you're going to find yourself a lot further along on the journey before you know it. So to bring it back to CBD, because I'm very curious about this for myself, and I'm sure the listeners are wondering this as well. How do you figure out dosing? Like, how do you know enough is enough?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like one thing that I will say is you can't overdose. If you took quote unquote too much, you would just be really tired and you would sleep. Typically, a lot of people will start in around like the 20 to 30 milligram range at a time. But a lot of people, including myself, I'll take around 60 milligrams a day. And that's what you were saying earlier is you do have to take pretty high dosages. I think there's some studies out there that show around 100 milligrams is where it's most efficacious for sleep. And that can be not necessarily cost effective. And so it's not a blanket statement, but everybody needs to try it for themselves. But what you'll notice is since it's a system that can be regulated, your endocannabinoid system, think of having a vitamin D deficiency and getting to a proper level. So the proper level for every person is going to be different, but at one point, like more is not actually going to be more helpful. You start around maybe the 20 to 30 milligram range and you notice, okay, I'm more calm or I'm feeling better. I can move my body better. I wake up, I feel rested. A lot of people will notice that it was actually working when they didn't know it was working because they'll take it for a couple of weeks and they'll come off of it and they'll be like, oh, like what changed? I stopped taking CBD. And that's just like a new diet or a new workout regimen. Like it takes time. It takes multiple weeks to get to what you might consider like a therapeutic level. But many people would start and feel the benefit around the 30 milligram range. And with most of our products, that's a serving size is 30 milligrams. You can take it morning, you can take it night, you can take it any time of day. Some people will notice that lower dosages almost have a stimulating effect, which is really weird. Like very low dosages, like 5 to 10 milligrams is almost more stimulating. And then the higher dosage, you'll feel more relaxing. But I'll take it before a podcast because it helps me calm and collect myself. I'll take it before speaking to my team. I'll take it before a speaking event, but it's definitely dose dependent on the person, weight, what benefits you're really trying to see. And then of course, like I said, just you have to use it for a long enough time to actually notice and recognize that you've built the proper level in your system where your endocannabinoid system has reached homeostasis more or less. Did I answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that was perfect actually. And you're speaking to my experience that I had with CBD. So for a while, was just taking it on days where I've always struggled with anxiety my whole life. And I've talked about that a lot on this podcast too, just like a chronic low grade anxiety. And I didn't initially really notice a difference with CBD, but because I was only taking it on days where I was remarkably feeling the anxiety. So what I realized is that once I started taking it consistently, like I just got in a habit where I was like, I'm just going to take it every single morning for a while. I'm not going to wake up and be like, am I anxious enough to take it or not or whatever? Because I have this weird relationship with any sort of substance. And I'm talking about even just like supplements where I don't want to feel like I'm reliant on it. However, I've found with CBD that I need to be consistently taking it. And then I had the same experience where then when I stopped taking it, I looked back and was like, oh, wow, I actually really noticed a remarkable difference in my stress and anxiety levels. So for me, and I've read that this is really common for people, you need to be consistently taking it to really feel the effects of it.
Yep.
And I also want to note, you said this earlier, but I really want to reiterate this because this is a question I get a lot from people on Instagram. If you're just taking CBD, you're not going to feel high like you do from weed because THC is what creates that high feeling. And there is no THC in CBD if you just get a straight CBD product. So I just want to clarify that for people.
Yeah. Our products, they're labeled C-free or full spectrum. A full spectrum extract will have low concentrations of THC in it. So if you took enough, you could get to a dosage that you would feel. But if you're worried about feeling high or you have to take drug tests or anything like that, you would definitely just go for the THC-free version. And that has CBD in it, but it also has some other minor cannabinoids, CBG, CBN, which all are not intoxicating, but they really help with calming.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think it's important to clarify that for people because I'm trying to think of people that are very new to CBD that don't really understand at all. Because again, like we were saying earlier, cannabis has a stigma where like people think they're going to take this and they're going to get high. I'm like, I take CBD every day and I'm not getting high. I got work to do.
No, I got stuff to do.
Exactly. I'm trying to think if there's anything about CBD or even like CBN or anything about Cure that we haven't really covered. We didn't really talk about your farming practices. Maybe we can talk about how those differ from other companies.
So that's a great question. And I'll also touch on CBN real quick because that's another product that we have. So we actually, when we first started the company, and this is something that we improved upon because we recognized that we couldn't do it all, we actually had our own farm. So we had our own farm in Boulder, Colorado, and we would do the farming. And my business partner has an extensive amount of experience in the cannabis realm. And it was all organic farming practices, no pesticides. And then we got to the point where we couldn't handle the full vertical integration. So like the farming, the manufacturing, and the final actually like putting it in a bottle and then selling the product. So we actually partner with one of the biggest labs and cultivators here in Colorado, and they're ISO 9000 certified, NSF certified, and they have the most high-tech manufacturing facility that could possibly exist. And that is all CGMP, FDA. So it's like the most high quality facility that you could ever be in. And we also make sure that from their standpoint, they're only partnering with the farms that have the organic farming practices. And now what's even cooler is that some of these farms are actually USDA certified. So there's some things that are like, okay, what's really going on there? But it's pushing in the right direction. And those are the farms that we're working with. And then the whole chain of custody, we work with some of the best labs in the nation, actually, probably even the world, but that's a really big claim to say. So in the nation and in Colorado. to ensure that quality control. And those facilities are always inspected. Same with those farms. They're inspected on a constant basis, especially in Colorado.
Awesome. God, this is why I love your company. Your
Thank
commitment
you.
to quality is really commendable. It's really cool.
We just want to do it right. And we want to last. We want to be a company that lasts the test of time. And if we don't do it right, we just won't be, because karma and responsibility are real.
Yeah, it's so true. Not to mention, if you're not creating a high quality product, people aren't going to feel the difference and they're not going to stop buying it.
Yeah.
And that's what, thankfully, a lot of people are realizing their food and everything is that we're all looking for higher quality food, products, supplements, everything, you name it. So it's important that people have that in their business ethics. So let's say someone's listening in another country and they can't have access to cured nutrition specifically. What are some ways that they can ensure that they're getting a good high quality CBD?
Yeah. So when we were talking about those batch testing results earlier, you as the consumer have every right to email a company and say, hey, I would love to see the batch testing results. Can you please send those to me? And if a company won't send those to you, I would not buy from them. So like we said earlier, absence of heavy metals, absence of pesticides, absence of microbial, and then homogeneity, as in there are the amount of cannabinoids in this product that the company says there is and is shown on the label. And there are definitely other companies doing this, so don't take it like we're the only people that do this. And so I would say if you're in Canada, if you're in Europe, wherever you are in the world, there are companies selling high quality products. And if you ask the company for those testing results and they don't give them to you, I wouldn't buy from them.
Yeah, that's great advice. Okay, I want to be mindful of your time. I want to quickly go over some of your products that I really love.
Yeah.
Specifically for me, I struggle a lot with falling asleep. Like once I'm asleep, I'm good, but I can't fall asleep normally without the assistance of something. And I've really been loving Zen and CBN together. Can you talk a little bit about what those are and how they help with sleep?
Yeah. So Zen, and I'll just briefly touch on this. Zen also has functional mushrooms and other adaptogens in it. And Zen is one of many of our products that were formulated by a clinical herbalist. We have an in-house clinical herbalist that works one-on-one with patients, but has helped us create products for mass market. There's reishi in that product. So reishi is a really powerful mushroom that's great for relaxation and your immune system and overall health, but that helps you calm down in combination with a higher dose CBD in there. And there's a couple other things. There's ashwagandha in there, and there's a little bit of magnesium and a couple other adaptogens. But that's great. More so, people will say and report that really helps with their REM sleep. So that helps with the second half of the night. You do deep sleep and REM sleep. And then when you do that in combination with a CBN product, CBN is different from CBD, where CBN is it's more on the sedating side. I always explain it like this. Think of the feeling of a weighted blanket on your body. That's what CBN feels like. So CBN is really good for helping get you to sleep and then really get into deep sleep. And then Zen is great for calming, but it also really helps with the second half of the night. And I just say that anecdotally because people send us their Oura Ring data all the time. And we're like, wow, yep, there you go. So CBN typically helps with the deep sleep and falling asleep in the beginning of the night. And then Zen helps with later in the night, but it can help with calming in a lot of people can't fall asleep because they can't calm their mind. Other people's not the same, but the combination of those two together is extremely powerful. We actually sell it in what we call our sleep bundle. And the other thing about this too is typically when you find the right dosage, especially with the CBN, you don't wake up groggy. If you take too much, you can feel groggy. But at the end of the day, there's a lot coming out about melatonin not actually being something that you should actually take. I don't know if you follow Dr. Andrew Huberman, but there's some questions about melatonin, and I'll just leave it at that. So no melatonin in any of our products. And when you find and take the right dosage, you won't wake up groggy at all.
Yeah, that's been my experience. And I love that you brought up the REM sleep and the Oura Ring, because that's something that I've noticed. And I initially didn't know it was happening, but I would check my Oura Ring in the morning and I was like, wow, my REM sleep is really going up. And then I think I'd heard you or someone was talking about like how a lot of people have been reporting that. Yeah. I was like, oh, I think that's what it is. I think it's the Zen and the CBN.
Krista Williams.
I love her. Yeah. She's one of my good friends.
She was one of the first people that told us, I take Zen and I lucid dream. I'm like, you know what? People say that over and over again. And I actually was just like, I thought my dreams were just like really intense. And I had more and more people reaching out saying that. And they're like, Joe, what did you guys create? This is something really crazy. And I was like, I know, it's really cool. And we hear it over and over again. It's really important to dream.
Yeah.
Deep sleep is like body restoration, and then REM sleep is more brain restoration. That's oversimplified, but that's how I look at it.
It's interesting. I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, but I went through a very long period of time where I wasn't dreaming at all. Or they say that when you say you're not dreaming, that you just don't remember them. Yeah. But I, for whatever reason, was not conscious of my dreams whatsoever. And then now I have the most vivid dreams every night. It's really wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I can't tell you I know what's going on there, but it's definitely happening.
Yeah, something's happening. Yeah. And it's a good thing. So very grateful for those products. I also really love your Rise product in the morning, the Neurotropic.
Yeah.
And can you take that with coffee? Because I have been doing that. Okay.
Yeah, we really created that to help people try to eliminate caffeine later in the day. So I always drink coffee in the morning. I love coffee. It's part of my ritual. Sometimes if I take Rise with it, I just drink a little bit less coffee because it can be a little bit intense. Taken by itself, it's really powerful for midday. So again, it helps you with mental clarity and ability to sit down and focus on something that you're working on, but also the ability to remove caffeine later in the day allows you then again to help you fall asleep at night. So it's like it packs a 2-punch. It's like, it's great for mental clarity during the day. It really helps reduce brain fog and improve your cognition, but it also allows you to eliminate caffeine later in the day. Since caffeine has I think it's like an 8-hour quarter life. If you're drinking caffeine after noon, it's still going to be in your system at the end of the day. And then you're just fighting an uphill battle trying to fall asleep. So it's like 2 purposes: get you to be able to crush your work during the day, whatever it is that you need to do. And then potentially, if you want to reduce your caffeine, all that said, you can take it with coffee. I would just not do the full dosage if you do it with coffee the first time. And that, again, is the same blend. It's got functional mushrooms, adaptogens, and cannabinoids in it as well. It was produced by our clinical herbalist. The mushrooms are lion's mane and cordyceps in that. And then it has rhodiola, gotu kola, and ginseng, and then low dose CBD. The low dose CBD, as I said earlier, can be a little bit stimulating, but it also helps balance out the supplement because sometimes products like that are too stimulating, and the CBD actually helps balance it. CBD, we talk about the stress response, but just think about in one product, you have some stimulating components and then you have some balancing components. So it's like clean, crisp, clear energy, no jitters, no crash, and serves several purposes.
I'm a big fan of those products. And then the last one that I want to touch really quickly is your Euphoria drinks.
Yeah.
I really love those. I will say the only thing is that I'm getting a lot of questions from people because it has natural flavors. And I feel I don't want to call you out, but I want to ask you, maybe, do you guys know exactly what's in your proprietary natural flavors blend?
They're sweetened with monk fruit and stevia. So that's where the sweetness comes from. And our manufacturer will not disclose the proprietary blend, Flavor Man. So I hear you 100% on that. We took a long time to develop those products, and that's why we do sweeten them with monk fruit and stevia. Because
I love monk fruit and stevia. Sorry, I'm down with that.
Yeah, but there is natural flavors in it. Yeah. And that's just like this weird thing is that we work so hard to create a product that works. But then at the end of the day, it's so hard to create a product that works and then tastes really good.
I know, it's a struggle.
And the mushrooms in there make it really hard, because drink mushrooms without some type of component to help sweeten them or make the flavor change, and it's really hard. Yeah, I'll be fully transparent on that. There are natural flavors in there, and I hope that the flavoring companies that do produce those can start to actually just be more transparent on what they're doing.
Yeah, this is a huge problem. A lot of people in the health space are really waking up to this. This is something that I've known about and I've been talking about for a long time, but it feels like all of a sudden, everywhere we look, they're in everything. For a while, I was like, okay, it's pretty easy to avoid them. It's only in a couple things. And I really, in my own life, practice balance. So for example, I love your drinks and I drink them.
Yeah.
And I try really hard to avoid natural flavors, but I've also gotten to this place of natural flavor fatigue where I'm just like, oh my God, it's in literally everything. And I didn't bring this up to call you out or anything like that, just more to have, again, this conversation. I guess we come back to the nuance of we try our best Sometimes there's certain things in products that we really love and we want to consume them anyways, even though it has these natural flavors. And that's not to say that we even know if they're bad. That's just the only problem with the natural flavors is we just don't know what's in them. So.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point is as we go on this journey, we just become very in tune with our body. And as you drink things, as you take things, like at the end of the day, like there's now one size fits all approach to anything. So we just have to be able to ask ourselves, how is this helping me feel? Does it make me feel bloated? Is there something going on here that's like off?
Totally.
But if there was one thing that we can improve, that's definitely it. And that is something that we're working on. I got to tell you, the drink space is really hard.
Oh, I know. I invested in a drink company that I really love. When one of my best guy friends started Sound Tea.
Oh, yeah.
And I hear a lot from him just how crazy and competitive and hard it is to get in the drink space. A lot of it too is because Pepsi and Coca-Cola own literally everything. And so for the little guys, it's really hard to get any sort of shelf space.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, I know you're out in LA. We're in talks with Erewhon. We've had our Rise and Zen products in Erewhon, and we're in talks with them with Euphoria. So hopefully you'll see it out there soon.
Yes, I love that. Let me know if I can connect you with anyone because I think I have a couple connections with Erewhon. So
yeah,
I could probably help you out with. Cool. Is there anything else that we haven't covered about cured, CBD, really anything we talked about that you feel like is important for people to know?
No, I don't. I think that we've covered quite a bit. And at the end of the day, the summary is like the responsibility falls on us as consumers. And so that's why we have the conversations that we have.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I have to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests. What are your health non-negotiables?
I love it. So recently this year, cold plunge. I've been doing cold plunge every morning for since it was like January 14th, I think we got it. So cold plunge. But honestly, just if I could tell you like two things, cold plunge and walks, just like walking and being able to clear my mind. If I listed off all the things that I do, I would be boring everybody, but those are the non-negotiables. Yeah. Like sunlight, especially early in the day. So sunlight, walking, getting sunlight, getting some movement in, and I really have been enjoying cold exposure.
That's awesome. You and I are very much aligned with the walks. I do it literally every day. I went for a walk earlier before we recorded this. So
I did too.
It's important. I love that. I love this for us.
Yeah.
Let everyone know where they can find you, find Cured, and plug your company.
Perfect. Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at Joseph Sheehey. Last name is Shehey. And then Cured, you have to type out Cured Nutrition. Instagram and Facebook and big tech does not like us. They've been shadow banning us for a long time. So Cured, Cured Nutrition, and you'll find our actual main page. There are other pages there on Instagram that we've built for risk reduction if we need to use them in the future. But Cured Nutrition on Instagram and curednutrition.com. And you can find all of our products there. And I highly recommend checking out our blog and our podcast, because just like the education that we're putting out here on this platform, we do that consistently twice a week. And it's just our commitment to putting the proper education out there.
Awesome. I love that. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks for coming on.